All right, defying all odds, we're still on time after one event. I can't believe it. All right, so our second group, this is kind of an interesting group too, because we're going to learn a lot about what we learned post-shutdown, but we're also going to take this topic in a lot of different directions because we have a typical RTBC group up here where we've got expertise all over the place. So we're going to take advantage of it. So first up, Mr. Frank Bolter, please introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about Pit Pay.
I'm Frank Bolter. Frank Bolter with... All right, there we go. I'm Frank Bolter with Pit Pay in Charlotte. We're a mobile technology company focused on building tools for to deliver major league experience, at-track experience through our registration, ticketing registration, pit pass sales, and electronic waiver event management tools.
Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Ladd. I'm President, Sports Insurance Specialist, and we insure roughly 250 facilities, all different sizes, types. We work with several sanctioning bodies. We also handle a lot of race team insurance, all sizes. I always say, you know, we have AJ Foyt. If I can keep him happy, and I think I can keep anybody happy. So we always pride ourselves on that. But we're happy to be here. We've been part of RTBC since the beginning. We've kind of grown together, and appreciate y'all here, and have several customers here. And we look at you guys as like partners, because we're all in this together. So thanks.
Jeff, I forgot your gold star. I'm sorry. You know, gold stars after 11 years, and I forgot it. Andy.
My name is Andy Luck. I'm the Director of Operations for Formula Drift. This will be our 20th season of Formula Drift starting next year. So we're not the new kids anymore. We're kind of in the midway now. So I've worked with a lot of you guys out here, especially with Chris Blair, who kept on bringing up Formula Drift. I've worked with him since he was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it's great to be here. I've been here, I think the first or second year I was here with Jim Lau. Now he's on his general manager of PRI. So thank you.
You guys put on incredible events. I'm not sure I'll ever understand drifting, but it is exciting.
It's not figure skating, but it's, you know, it's a good thing to watch. You know, it's what a lot of people like to say is like, oh, I watch it on TV, but to see it live is something totally different. You can smell the smoke, you can see the smoke, you can see how talented some of these drivers really are.
I've never understood the scoring, but I think I've never understood how the Russian judge does it in figure skating either. All right, Francisque.
Thank you. I'm Francisque Savignan. I'm the founder and CEO of ePortrait, the global platform for the performance racing industry. And before I start, I'd like to say a few words about the RTBC, because about 12 years ago, I was working with PRI at the time, and I called Tim Frost, who is somewhere right there, and I said, Tim, I had lunch with Steve Lewis and John Kilroy, and at that time the show was in Orlando, and we think we should add a racetrack conference to bring promoters and track operators before the show, and we would like you to organize it. And the next day Tim was in the office, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is because sometimes we take it for a given, but the promoters, the track operators, are the foundation of what this industry is all about. Without them, there is no industry. So thank you to each and every one of you who promote races, organize races, sanction races, own a racetrack, because you really are the foundation and backbone of this industry. So thank you very much. And then I have attended every single one since day one. And even after I left PRI in 2018 to start ePortrait with Judy Keane and John Kilroy and great people, I've been coming here every year. I would come every day if I could.
And knowing you're responsible for us all being here.
No, I'm not. Tim is.
If you get an angry call from my wife, Stacy, because I get to be such a grouch around RTBC.
No, my little contribution was to make the call to Tim Frost. Tim organized everything and did a tremendous job. And it was a great effort, and especially in Orlando, because we wanted to create, a way to recognize the promoter. And Steve Lewis, who's been racing the midget team for many, many years, had all the connections there. And it was something that we learned from him. Says those guys are really what this industry is all about.
And this show would not exist without PRI's support. So
Absolutely.
Again, thank you very much for getting that ball going.
Again, Francis, thank you very much, and Steve and John, Kilroy and Judy. they really gave us the opportunity, 12 years ago to kind of go through and do it. And I was like, oh, whatever. And so we took the opportunity, but it was from his call and his support, and he's been really great. And also, I think what he's done in his business and there, we're all familiar with e-part trade. And he does another thing too, obviously prior to this, but he does Race Industry Week, which is, basically RTBC on steroids times 10. I mean, anybody can put together 50 hours, 55 hours, and whatever programming for an entire week. And, all I can say is I just look at who they've gathered, and it's basically, it's all of our LinkedIn profiles and connections. They put it all on in a week. So congratulations to you guys for what you've done and seen the vision and doing this big pivot online. And, thanks for giving us the opportunity way back.
Thank you, Tim. I'm still working on my English.
And I'm still working on your last name, so we're even. All right, so I'm going to do my greatest Wink Martindale imitation here and throw a toss-up question out to the crowd up on stage. Boy, oh boy, to say the industry has changed a lot since COVID started is to really say a lot. But what changes did we see because of COVID that will be permanent going forward?
I guess I'll start. For us, we went totally digital on mostly everything, from our ticketing to ticket selling, and everything was going to digital. We have a great partner in Torque Hub, which we use a lot of QR codes, and we started putting our schedule on QR codes, started putting QR codes all over the events, and that helped us a lot. And also saved us a little money too, because we don't have to hire any ticket sellers. We have the QR code. Everybody with a phone, of course, can buy a ticket, and it makes the whole system work a lot more efficiently. They can buy their ticket while they're waiting in line to get in through security, and that helps out at least a good 10 minutes or 20 minutes for a spectator, to not have to wait in line to go buy a ticket and then get into the security line to go into the event. So I think post-COVID, I think this was the number one thing for us as a series, which was really important.
Well, Frank, PitPay actually made some events possible during the COVID pandemic and just coming out of it by making everything touchless. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had one of our clients was leasing a parking lot facility in Las Vegas, and they weren't going to be able to do this event without a touchless system. So they went through legal, and they were going to just Nevada was really in a bad shape that little window of time, and so we jumped in and helped them with our contactless payments and touch-free waiver signing, that kind of thing, and they got it signed off by the casino legal department, and the event went on. So I think that was a cool story that came out of COVID for us, that we helped an event happen that was not going to happen. So it was a large-scale event, and that city was shut down really at that time.
And I will tell you, events that I had been to since PitPay came around, oh my goodness, you have really made it easy to get into the back gate for events. You've just simplified a real annoying process of what used to be standing in line for a very long time.
Yeah, we worked on that with insurance guys like K&K and Jeff here, and to really get that process, proper with help from Lori in the back. You'll hear from her at lunch, but that's a lot of legal work went into that, and a lot of time on the phone with Jeff and the insurance partners to kind of get this thing pulled together.
Jeff, we had a great conversation leading up to this event, and one of the key questions I asked was the adoption, right? Is all this electronic stuff being adopted? What can we do? Are you seeing that? Because waivers in our industry is pretty important.
Absolutely. We would love to see it and keep advancing. Motorsports has actually been trailing like amateur sports and different things like that, getting to an electronic waiver. Quite frankly, I've seen this as our company has grown between us, our underwriting partner, and our carrier. The amount that we pay to print and ship release forms is well into the six figures. We totally support this. We were totally behind Frank, as K&K was, and is getting this going saves us money. That's our benefit, but there's so many benefits that it can give you as the track owner and promoter as well, because there's a lot of data that comes along with that. And as we all try and advance in this, it's important. So, thanks.
What advice would you give them on how to maybe push more adoption?
Well, what I've seen is it's kind of coming based on the size or type of facility. Like there's private road courses that are pretty advanced. A lot of them already have electronic waivers in place, systems that they created. And then in the short tracks and stuff like that, pit pay that Frank has created here along with Lori, it's fantastic. You know, you still deal with a variety of promoters, right? So some are still kind of stuck in the thing I've done for the last 50 years, where when there's some turnover and you get, you know, a more savvy, younger promoter, maybe not more savvy, that's the wrong way to put it, but maybe a more electronic world promoter, they tend to see this and want to go for it.
All right, Francisca, you had a fabulous industry week again. That was the third annual, correct?
Yep.
Obviously, COVID made this concept sort of a reality, but it has turned out to show us that it's even more important than even post-COVID to have these kinds of events, and they seem to be more accepted in all industries doing things virtually.
Yeah, I don't like the word virtual. I'll tell you why, because it refers on the other part to in person. And what we're doing is taking advantage of the technologies available in today's world, okay? And I'm sure all of you are there. You know, when somebody tells you, oh, can we have a call next week, or can we schedule a call? 90% of the time now is a video call. That was not the case before. So it's part of, I'll tell you a little example. I have two kids. One is 17, the other one is 1, so there's a little bit of a gap in between. But about 17 years ago, you know, every weekend we would call the grandparents in France, and my little one would say gaga on the phone, and the grandparents would just try to communicate. Not much was happening. Then at Christmas, we get in the plane, go to France, in summer, do the same thing. The new one, we do FaceTime. We send videos, we do WhatsApp, whatever it is. They see the kid, they do gaga, they do peekaboo, whatever works. They're happy. It doesn't stop us to get in the plane at Christmas and go visit them. Same story in the summer, okay? So what we see here is, you're absolutely right, our industry was a little bit behind in terms of technology. And you're the perfect example. Digitalizing the industry is part of the world we live in. And it opens new opportunities. So Race Industry Week started 3-something years ago, actually 3.5 years ago. We had started the ePortrait platform, then COVID hit, and the world went upside down, and we thought, what else could we do? So everybody was doing webinars in other industries, so we thought, oh, let's try a webinar. We put the first webinar together. We thought if we have 20 people, we'll be happy. We had over 300. We said, oh, wow. Maybe we should do a second one, then a third one. And then this is the end of the year, all the shows are canceled, so I called my buddy Paul Fanner at Racer, and I says, I have a crazy idea. What if we run a full week of webinar? We invite all the people in the industry that usually connect here, and we try. I mean, first year we had Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi, Bobby Real. I mean, everybody was on it, and said, wow, this is a new way of communicating. So the second year we did it again. It was a huge success, and now we're into an established event. Speed Sport has been joining us, so it's co-produced by ePortrait, Racer, and Speed Sport. And we basically, again, celebrate the industry. If you watch it last week, the amount of energy and passion that comes out of it is incredible, but it's not there to replace this. Now, I don't have a PhD in mathematics, but when I work with PRI, I was sad Saturday night because I knew that it would be 362 days before the next PRI show. So one day, I'm not as smart as most of you, so it took me about 17 years to figure that out. I said, hey, what if I digitalize the industry and made it possible for all of us to stay connected all year round and globally? And that's really how ePortrait was born. And after that, everything is content that we create, a newsletter, a webinar series, a Race Industry Week, to connect and engage the industry all year round and globally. And from a global standpoint, online allows you to do things that you could not do in person. Okay, so in 1 week you can talk to Steve Phelps, president of NASCAR, then Stock Car Brazil. Most of you probably have never heard about Stock Car Brazil or Turismo Carretera in Argentina or Supercars in Australia or BTCC in England. All of that, you can make it possible now. And what is really, really important to understand is the guys running BTCC in the UK faces the same challenges that Jeff Fry, who runs IndyCar, and have the same passion, the same understanding. Same thing with Formula Drift or Grid Life. And what is important is to realize that we're all part of an industry that's a global industry. The suppliers are basically moving the industry globally because PFC brakes, they don't want to only sell in America. They want to sell everywhere in the world. So yes, it's what we learned from COVID is that now, and to go back to what I said, I don't like the word virtual, this is normal. This is, we don't compare virtual in person. It's just part of our life, and we just take advantage of it. And if you don't want to take advantage of it, then you're a little bit left behind. I hope it makes sense.
And from day one of ePartrade, when I talked to you about that platform, you were adamant that it's working together with other trade shows like PRI and regional shows all over the country. We need all of those as partners, as ways to reach the customer.
I want to add to this. I think it's great that he did something like that for people to communicate all over the world. That's what's most important. It's from our series in the United States to Japan to Brazil. It's a way to connect and not be only at a conference like this. What he's doing is right now connecting everybody any day, pretty much every day. Is but for me to speak to somebody about drifting in Brazil, I have no idea who do I need to speak with. I don't know. But now he has a platform where I can go find somebody in Brazil and be able to be like, hey, you're a sanctioning body in Brazil. Would you like to do drifting or something like that? And that's something that he's trying to do, is to connect everybody, which I felt like 10 years ago you couldn't connect.
No.
There's no way until now, not because of COVID, not really, but but coming out with a platform like this is to connect everybody, track promoters to all over the world, right? Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And COVID accelerated the process. I try not to mention COVID because a lot of people died and it was a terrible thing and we all suffered from it. But it made, as we were saying just earlier, it made video call a normality. It made all the digital stuff become much more normal, and we just have to learn from it. The world changes, and World War II turned the world upside down, and we learn from it, and we progress from it. I don't wish a third one, but so that's when challenges are there, you learn and you survive.
Dennis, I have to ask a financial question. Once upon a time, I was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley. So when I hear digital, I immediately think of potential cost save, right? There is a potential for cost save in addition to supplementing something that's already great. Are there benefits in cost save or reduced costs in some way by, more or deeper adoption of technology? Because that's what COVID kind of forced everyone into.
Yeah, like you said, everyone knows how to do a Zoom call now, right? So now everyone knows what a QR code does and how to read a QR code. So that's something that go in a restaurant and you're going to either be hungry or learn how to read the menu, right? So so that's one thing. A lot of the less tech savvy people did learn how to COVID, but I think a lot of our tools do help save labor, save time, and and just aggregate that data. And as you see a shift away from the effectiveness of social media as far as the promotional end of it, it's like that data, like what you guys are kind of all in on your platform with Formula Drift. I mean, that's the key to going back to selling tickets and getting people at your events. Yeah,
it's really about gathering a lot of information. Being able to text message people and be able to say, hey, our event's coming up or whatever. Give reminders, email databases. And that's all very important to everybody, including all tracks, is to get as much data as you can from the people that are actually coming to your track and to your event. that's why social media is also very important for us, especially for us. Before COVID and before that, we spent a lot of money doing live streaming. And what saved us during the pandemic is the live stream stuff, because I think 2020 we actually had a whole season and had 0 spectators. Everybody was watching our stuff online and watching all our streaming. And what happened this year when we actually opened back up, we're up 25%, and we still had all the people watching online. So it was actually great. We pretty much sold out most of our events through the season, and it's because of what we did in 2020 and 2021 is that we spent a lot of money on live streaming, keeping the fans engaged, keeping them up to date about what was going on in Formula Drift. Of course, all the drivers spend a lot of time on their own social media promoting the series and making sure that everybody's up to date about what's going on in the series, how they're doing. And I think that translated into when everybody wanted to come back to events. That's why our numbers were up so much this year, and which was great.
I love that you brought up data. Jeff, I got to pick on you a little bit here to just kind of connect the dots here. Insurance companies, you and I spoke, I had to get licensed in insurance and understand that world. They are all about data. And when I think about costs, right? Insurance companies are all about risk assessment, lower risk, lower cost, right? What we don't measure, we don't manage. And I could see having this data could potentially long-term impact insurance rates, because what they don't know and what they see on TV is people going really fast, it looks really dangerous, so we're going to charge a lot of money to insure this. But the data may tell something different, but if we're not tracking it, right?
That's 100% spot on. The data is important. What's happening in the insurance market right now is it's a hard market. I've done this 31 years. Any positive data that we can get to help present to our carrier partners to push our point across, that's important, and it's getting more important. A lot of facilities in here, I'm sure have seen that if you carry higher limits, the pricing is skyrocketed. Don't shoot your broker. Trust me, they're trying to fight for you. But the data and any positive aspects that we can bring to them is only going to help. So yes, very important.
Another huge benefit of how we can help each other.
Correct.
Through sharing data, but we have to first collect it. And digitizing, that's a big part, step one.
Yep, absolutely.
So we've got a great group of experts up here. If you have a question out in the audience, get our attention of Jamie, and she'll bring the mic to you. But in the meantime, Andy, in my Monday through Friday role as the farm director at WITY Radio, I see such a shortage in the ag industry because of chip shortages, tire shortages, so many things. How have you seen trouble getting stuff you need to hold an event post-COVID?
Luckily, we work with the tire manufacturers themselves. They haven't had any crazy shortages. We've been lucky that, we have 400, 500 tires per event at our disposal. So shortages, we haven't had any issues. Our issue so far has been with the tracks because of labor. Because we hire a lot of labor from each track. And it's hard to get security, food sellers, ticket takers, because there's a shortage of labor. We're having a hard problem finding people to work for $20, $25 an hour, which is crazy. It blows my mind that it's so hard to find labor these days. I believe Chris and I went through a lot of that issues, but luckily, with their vast, amount of labor, we were lucky to be able to get the event going.
Questions? Well, I got plenty, so I'll keep it going. All right, Jeff, you're all about kicking the risk, okay? What's new in the insurance business that our promoters need to be keeping an eye on?
Well, actually, there's several things. The streaming has really grown, obviously, and that's grown, from the pandemic and people not having, the ability to have spectators. So I think that advanced really quickly. A lot of those platforms are set up differently. But some of these instances, there could be a little bit of a liability issue, not specific to pick on anything or anybody, but just, make sure that you're getting the proper insurance for the streaming. Most of these companies have their own, right? They're bringing it in. Some are set up differently. I've noticed that, so make sure you bring that up to your agent or whatnot, or me. We're here. Dave's here. He's with the company. He's back here in the corner, and we'll be here all week. We're at 4924 is our booth number, and we've got some more folks coming down later today. And in insurance, there's always what-if questions. Stop and see us. We'll do the best we can to answer it, and if we don't know, I promise you, we'll get the answer pretty quick. So,
What's the biggest mistake you see customers make when it comes to their insurance at a racetrack?
one of the biggest mistakes is I think certain operators, when you didn't have any spectators, you might have got a little lazy, not calling everybody out, obviously, but a little lazy looking at the facility, looking at the bleacher boards. We are in a really hard insurance market. Like I said, I've done this 31 years. We're very fortunate to have the tools we have in our toolbox, so we got to take care of those tools. What we ask our promoters and operators is just walk your facility, especially in the spring after a winter. It's tough on those bleacher boards, and you hit a bad one and somebody falls through, they're expensive. And anymore, no offense, Lori, but lawyers are expensive. So when we look at the expense side, right, we got to fight them. So you've got the promoter in one ear going, well, we don't want to pay. Well, guess what? We got to defend it, right? This is costing money. So anyway, that's one of the biggest things I see, Dennis.
All right, Frank, when pit pay first came into existence, the change in any industry, especially an old school industry like auto racing, change, you almost have to pull people through the window kicking and screaming to accept change. How has pit pay sort of changed those opinions of, well, we've always done it this way, Frank, so I don't want to change?
Yeah, it's been an educational process over the last couple of years, and we launched right at the beginning of 2020, and the world got shut down. So that's a hard time to, make change happen when guys are trying to keep their facilities open or get events pulled off, maybe. So it was it's been a challenge on that front. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a lot of questions, and when they've got this process they've done for 30 years, it takes a minute to re-educate them and kind of show them what's out there.
Do folks feel a little bit more comfortable now with those electronic waivers? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a lot of other pieces of our lives have been digitized as well, right? So that's that helps. That helps our adoption, really.
Let me add to that. I really think that a lot of track owners that you should go to the electronic stuff. It really does make your life that much more efficient and easier. For us to go into a track and they have the ability, because to have a program like his must mean that you guys have some really good internet too. For us, that live stream, we need to have heavy, really high speed internet. That's very important for a series like ours to come into your track, is that you guys have a system like that to be able to support what we do too. And also, like I said, it just makes everything way more efficient to have that, and then it's all about data. You're able to get all of your fans and all the people that attend your track to get all this information, because you can get their email addresses and you're able to promote your other events that come to your track. So that's why it's very important to have a program like yours.
Show up prepared and all right. Yeah, they show up prepared, and ideally they don't wait in line, and just have a better event experience because of it, right?
Yeah, the fans are much more happier because it's a lot faster to get in. They don't want to wait an hour for us to stub a ticket and then get patted down. You got all your waivers already checked off. You're walking through the door. Everybody has a way better experience going through the doors and not have to wait in that massive line. If there is a massive line, for us, we usually have about 1,500 to 2,000 people walking in at the very beginning of the day. It takes about 30 minutes. It really does take 30 minutes to get like 15 to 2,000 people through the gate at the very beginning of the rush. And everybody's so excited and they're happy because they didn't have to wait 3 hours to get into your event. We for our Long Beach event, we used Ticketmaster, and before then, it was all stubbing and scanning, and it just took so long than be able to have an app or a digital ticket where you're just scanning, you just beep, 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 and you're in, and then your spectators are way more happier than to have a ticket that they got.
Yeah, they can't spend any money at your facility waiting in line, right?
Correct. You know, they want to go in to either go use the restroom or buy coffee or some drinks right when they get in.
This is on, there we are. Greg McCarnes, Madison International Speedway in Wisconsin. My question's for Andy. I went to your Formula Drift event in Long Beach. Absolutely awesome. It took about 1,000 photos. Just a great show. You talk about getting the data from everyone that is at your events. I grew up doing zip code surveys on paper to get mailing lists. Can you take us through the process? Are you geofencing? What all are you doing to capture that info?
I mean, we actually work with a really good partner with TorCub, and they're able to do everything digitally. We can get all the database. You know, Dennis over here, raise your hand, Dennis. He can answer a lot of your questions afterwards. He is slowly working with tracks and stuff like that to set up a system for you. And if not, this gentleman beside me can help you also. But it's very important, again, to get all these email and all the information that you can get from the people, whether it's your event or not your event, to get the information. And if you're working with a promoter, be able to ask the show that the event that's attending your track to get this information, because I'm pretty sure you guys are great partners. It'd be easier to share that information.
So Dennis, I'm going to throw out a question here. I hear you gentlemen talking. I've talked about virtual. Everyone's talking about virtual. And if I'm a business owner, a track owner, in the back of my mind, I'm like, cha-ching, cha-ching, expenses flying out, you know, like, oh, we need higher speed internet. So now I'm thinking, okay, we need to install those WAPs. How much money is that going to be, right?
Well, if you're charging me $100,000 to be at your track, I would expect you to at least have some sort of internet to be able to stream something. So, I mean, that cost can be passed on to the person that's renting your track to get the internet. I mean, we all know that right now that you could go to Spectrum or whatever and get 500 up and down for $49.99 a month. So,
and that's the hardware side, right? And then we talk about the software side, the app, the things like that. Just general human nature, business owner nature, we have a tendency, I'm calling myself a business owner too, to make assumptions that something's more expensive or very expensive before we even do the research. So what would you tell those business owners or track owners who haven't made the jump yet about weighing that, oh, we can't afford to do that?
I think that's you. Like how much do you want? How much are you going to charge them to do a system? I mean,
I'm not looking for prices, but it's a mindset almost, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way we structure our model, I mean, our system doesn't cost the facilities anything to use, right? So the internet lift's very minimal. You know, everything we do will work off of mobile connectivity, right? Mobile phone, connected iPad. So, you know, for our standpoint, there's really not a big internet requirement on our tools. So the investment's minimal, right?
I think what she's asking also is how do you change the track owner's mind to go digital with your program? And I can answer that for him really quickly.
It's both. You're spot on.
To tell you the truth, with a couple buttons and a spreadsheet with all the email databases, I'm pretty sure that he could provide for you, I think that's invaluable. You're able to connect to the people that actually went to your event to promote another event, because that's all money right there.
When I mentor business owners, a lot of them get hung up on the day of sale, right? The excitement of having the crowd there and getting, you know, the purchase of the T-shirt and the purchase of the ticket. The real money is in the lead.
Well,
right?
Also it's for repeat customers, because
Bingo.
As long as and we all know that, I'm pretty sure all you guys feel that your track is great, that you want them to have the best experience ever. Which, if you think you provide that, you want to be able to promote your other events to them. If they came to a Formula Drift event and they were so happy they got a free T-shirt, they got to meet their favorite driver, but yet you have another event that's coming up, you have another oval track, race or whatever, and you want to promote to them. Maybe they will come out because they had such a great experience.
Right.
But how do you get that information to them? Is by these apps and by these programs that are running, so you're able to email them like, hey, come out next week. I saw that you came to a Formula Drift event. Why don't you come out next week to our daily drifting or amateur drifting event? That's a repeat customer. And they're going in there, they're going to buy a drink, they're going to buy food, and that's a repeat customer. And if they like that one, they'll start coming to many more where you don't have to promote anymore. How invaluable is that these guys are able to make a program to help you bring people back to your track?
And you own the contact opposed to Instagram or Facebook owning the list.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more about the promoter understanding the value of that data versus the technology, right? The technology is the vehicle that collects it, but the promoters that really understand the value of that data and know how to mine that data, those guys are winning already. And I feel like the industry's, a bit behind as a whole on the grassroots level to understand, really what's needed there to mine and collect your own data.
Francisca, before we get the next question from the audience, I got a question for you. Now, I have adopted most new technology. I'm still fighting with those damn QR codes. But have you been able to track the success of the older demo in racing, feeling comfortable using the ePartrade platform? Do you have any demographics on age of user on the site?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty when you're online is you can collect everything. Okay, so you can see every click, you can see every, when somebody comes on the platform, we can follow everything they do and how many times they click, everywhere they go. And when they register, we have a demographic. So it's an industry, if you go down the hall, there's a lot of gray hair, okay? It's not an industry of 20 years old. But we see some new generation coming in. You're the perfect example of it, okay? So there's new series, Grid Life, perfect example of it, okay? A bunch of teenagers, maybe 20-something or whatever. But so there is a new wave coming into the industry that is much more tech-savvy than the other one. On the other hand, we talked about Steve Lewis earlier. When I first met him, he had a typewriter, okay? And last week, he was on Zoom. So people adjust. They evolve, they change, and there is another thing. I saw Laurie sitting over there. That is happening in the industry is the woman. Okay, there is a lot more women in our industry today that are coming into it with high position at the exec level or racers. So that's changing too. So everything is changing. We see that on the platform. We see women registering. Of course, it's an industry dominated by men, but and also we're seeing a globalization, a tremendous globalization. You mentioned, your series, and there's people watching racings from all over the world, and that's a very important thing as well.
Question here, right here.
I just wanted to add something to the last conversation. And thanks for mentioning our platform, Torque Hub. But I'm so passionate about this. It's why we started. The mind shift is not just about the data and the digital side. It's also about the new revenue opportunity it brings in, right? So being able to take your sponsorship, I think all of motorsports goes around, whether you're a team, a sanctioning body, or a track from a sponsorship standpoint, right? So it's really being able to leverage the data to actually create new sponsorship engagement. We spent a good time at SEMA building out stuff with Valvoline, doing facial recognition and digital tracking and data and a whole bunch of stuff that we talked about earlier of technology being so limited in the racing world. That's really where the mind shift comes. It's not just about saving the time and the gate and the spans. It's about being able to turn that data over into your sponsorships and actually strengthen that. So I just want to add, it's the core reason why our platform started is to help bring that money back and protect that money from a sponsorship standpoint. So we're not just slapping stickers on cars and hoping that the sponsors keep showing up. So it's being able to leverage that data, and that is really what unlocks the mindset shift to be able to bring the digital technology into the space.
Yeah, to add to that, I believe like what he's also saying is that, it's all about data. It's very important to everybody here in this room. Data is what helps with sponsorship and everything, and having a platform to help you to go, hey, Rockstar, we have this many emails, we have this many people show up to the events, here are all the information that you guys have, that you guys want to see, and this is and with social media, and this is what our numbers are. It helps a sponsor such as a Rockstar Energy drink or Red Bull or whatever that is very, very tech savvy and very social media minded. So, stuff like that is very important.
And if I can add one thing, I would say the marketers today are much more savvy. Okay, I see the show issue of the PRI Show right there sitting there. There is some people that are just living in the last century and have been running the same print ad and same booth design or whatever forever. They will never change. But you have others that want to measure everything. They want impression, they want clicks, they want data, they want absolutely everything. And the digital world offers that. And then you can measure. Now, I am not a big fan of impression because impression is a lot of blah blah. Okay, and the number one source of revenue for Facebook is actually small businesses. You cannot post something now without boosting it for people to see it. They steal money from you. That's what they do. Okay, I'm sorry, Facebook, but that's what they do. And so we have learned from it. At the beginning, we all thought excited. Okay, let's boost this, let's boost that, etc. But then you return, you look at the measure, the data, and you think, maybe not the best thing to do. Then you have other platform, you mentioned yours or ours, whatever it is out there, that really help you see your return on investment. And Judy, who's sitting over there, can tell you that she talks to hundreds and hundreds of suppliers out there in the industry. They all want to see data that we provide, and that's where they measure their success. And not only data, but leads, etc., etc. And that is possible because of the technology that we have available in today's world.
You brought up another kind of facet of this, women in the industry. You talk about even a younger demographic, right? I can't count how many bar conversations or dinner conversations that I've been a part of where it's like, okay, skilled trades, struggling with getting people into it. That's part of it, right? Well, in essence, I feel like, this is my interpretation, watching my kiddos come up, they would be annoyed with an industry that is not more tech savvy. And it would almost repel them, right? And I think of racing, and I think of my kiddos. I have a 12 and a 15-year-old. He's interested in the sim, not actually going to the track, because some of the experiences that we've had is clunky, for lack of a better term, right? So they want quick. To land the plane here, we could end up repelling a younger demographic if we don't get on board, and figure out a way to make it more inviting for women. Right? And it's interesting, Dennis, I think you shared something with me where it's like, have clean bathrooms. There's a lot to be said for that for women.
Well,
we're not as difficult to please as you think.
With the restrooms, we can fill it because we actually have a couple of female drivers, and that was the number one thing that is like, hey, you actually put a restroom just for us on the track, so we don't have to go to the main grandstand.
I don't want to sit on pee.
Exactly.
I don't. No woman here wants to sit on pee. I lived with my brother and my dad. I still don't want to do that, right? It's pretty simple, but the point is finding these basic things and figuring out those simple things to make it easier and more inviting. And for the younger demographic, it's the QR code. Make it easy for me to get in and enjoy it.
And that's why having platforms like his right there, you could buy a ticket and you have your QR code and come right on in.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important. I cannot stress about updating a lot of the tracks around here. Like 10 years ago, when we were here for the first time, a lot of the tracks, we were blown away about how many of the tracks didn't even have internet or had a really slow connection. And that's why we weren't even, when they would talk to us, we were not even interested in going to their track because they did not have the facility to be able to host us.
What did we learn from this group? We learned a lot.
Dennis, we got one more for my friend.
Okay, let's squeeze it in. Yeah.
Hi, Dan Erickson with Podium Club at Atessa in Phoenix. First, I want to thank a lot of you guys. 5 years ago, we were starting to break ground on our track, and I made so many contacts here. So if there's any new track guys or people looking to build one, this is probably the single best event you could have. But my question is, we opened less than a year ago, and things have been coming hard and fast. Technology is obviously a big thing, and we're choosing between so many options, you know. What do you guys see as the next thing technology-wise? We are finding that there's certain groups that do some things better than others, but integrating them all together can be a real pain in the ass. You know, whether you're using, you know, the various track timing things, the different waiver systems, one insurance company prefers something over the other, you know, dealing with the different potential race organizations, your track day guys, whether it's SCCA, NASA, whoever it is. What do you see as the future of the next things that are coming? You know, integrating things can be a pain in the butt. Unwinding them can be even worse to pick the new best partner. So that's it.
One thing we haven't touched is, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's coming. It's EV. Okay, we have to deal with it, and in 10, 15 years from now, there will be a lot more. So you'll need a charging station. Okay, that's a given. That's one thing that's changing the world, and the technology today also in our industry is changing tremendously. Look at NASCAR. 20 years ago, when they went EFI, it was a revolution. In 2002 or 3, there's not a single production car that had carburetor in the street, okay? NASCAR had to evolve, had to adjust. Now the next-gen car is normal, okay? So it's not only the technology we talked about here, but it's also the technology changing the industry in general, okay? More efficiency, more green material at some point too. All of that is going to be taken into consideration in the years to come. And I think that's probably, I'm not, you know, saying go and buy a bunch of charging station, but it will have to be taken into the equation at some point in the years to come. And there's plenty of other things like that.
What have we learned from this panel? We've learned a lot. Electronic waivers, my opinion, they're the way to go. They save you a lot of time and a lot of grief, but talk to your insurance guy, which you should be talking to every year anyway, not just when you have a problem. Using QR codes and other electronic methods can save you money, save you time, and make it easier for your customers. I just have to learn how to use those stubborn QR codes. Thankfully, I haven't gone without a menu because my wife knows how to do it. And tech is our friend. And ePartrade is not competition to in-person shows, but boy, do they put on a great Race Industry Week. But here's the thing, you need this technology at the track. That's another thing, like a charging station, that you can find a sponsor for in this industry. And I'm going to add for Andy, there are a lot of regional groups that do drifting. Adding a drifting event with one of your regional drifting groups might be a great idea. Let's give these folks a hand. All right, it's time to take our first break of the day, and our morning break is sponsored by Trackside Systems, so thank you very much.